Hi everyone, how are we all doing? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Rodian and today we're going to start with the bricklaying basics. Right, okay, as you see before you, we have spot board, we have some lime mortar, trowel, a couple of levels, boat level and a pointing tool. We also have a handful of new bricks. If any of you are regulars to the channel, you'll know I have been using old reclaims for the builds that I've been doing, but no, we've got rid of those. We've got some nice, I forget what these are called, but we've got some nice red bricks, very clean, crisp, not like the crappy ones I've been using to build the house if you have been along the channel for a long time. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over the basics. I'm going to go over trowel techniques, how to use a trowel. Essentially, what I'm about to show you is going to be what you would expect to learn in the first few days of college. It's exactly what I learned the first few days of college, and it really did help wonders. It's the basis of every bricklayer, pretty much the baseline, first things you learn. So right, let's get straight into it with the first thing. Right, before we go too mad, I'm just going to explain that to start with, you want to set up pretty much like I have now. If you don't know how to set up your spot board and load out your bricks, then I have done a video about loading out. So I will leave that in the description so you can go and check that out. I will also leave links to all the tools I use in this episode and every other episode down in the description, and there'll be a few other links to videos as well which we'll explain throughout the video. Okay, so the first thing you want to do once you've got set up, I've got a few videos on how to knock up muck as well, so again, links down in the description. So check all those out and then come back and then we'll start with the first thing. The first thing that every bricklayer learns is how to roll your muck. So when you're on site, when you're on a job, once you've loaded out, this is how your muck will look. Well, this is a lime mortar, so essentially this is just sand and lime, so it's not really going to go off like cement does, but if you checked out the video on how to knock up muck, you'll know to supplement the lime with cement. So this is how everything will look when you get loaded out, if you load it out yourself or if you get your labourer to load out for you, etc, etc. And you want to get this muck from this point here onto your wall or onto your foundation so you can start setting some bricks on top of that. Now, how do you do that? With a trowel, pretty much obviously that's what you would guess. But how do you get that from that pile onto your trowel? There's a few ways of doing it. Now, the way that everyone learns, I'm pretty much saying everyone learns. If anyone is out there who's learned this in a different way, then please do let me know down in the comments. But it's called rolling your muck. So I'll just do an example and then I'll show you how you do it. Much like that. I'll show you one more time. Now that is rolling your muck. It's essentially taking a piece out of the load that you've got there and just getting it on your trowel ready to lay on your course. So what we're going to do, we're not going to lay any bricks just at this moment, we will do in a second but not just at the moment. Imagine this section here. That is your wall, that is your foundation, that is where you are going to be laying a brick. So what I would like you all to do, if you're out there, remember, follow along. If you haven't followed on, then watch this, go outside, get yourself loaded out and follow along. Take your trowel. As I spoke before about bricklaying trowels, again, link in the description. Pick yourself out a nice one that feels comfortable to you, a nice weight to it, a nice one that you find very comfortable. So we'll go from there. Now from here, what you do is 90 degree perpendicular, I think that's perpendicular, 90 degrees to the spot board, and you want to roll the muck from this pile down. The first couple of rolls is just to get it off the big pile, and then from there you want to you do it in this kind of motion, and then the other way, like so. So the first one is to get that amount of muck out. You don't want to go too mad. Imagine the shape of your trowel, you want it sort of 2/3 of that, that's not 2/3, that's half, but half to 2/3 of the amount that you will get on that trowel. You don't want to go too much because you'll pick it up and it'll go everywhere. So you take one scoop down, and then it's quite a knack to it, so you're going to have to try it over and over and over again. So you get it down, and then from there you pull it towards you and then pull it away from you, like so. When you first start, it's probably best to have the muck a little bit further away, so you've got a bit of time to get used to that roll. It is a knack to it, but once you start using that wrist, you'll get used to it, and it will slowly come to you. So if you don't get it in the first couple of tries, don't worry, none of us got it in the first couple of tries, so just keep going. So again, that motion is like so. You get a bit of muck, and then away from you, towards you, away, towards, and then that last one. So once you've rolled it up and it looks like a bit of raw bread before it's gone in the oven, from there you go from sort of like a 45-degree motion and scoop it up like you're scooping an egg up out of a frying pan to do your breakfast. And at a 45-degree, 90-degree, it's probably best to go at a 45-degree angle so you get it on there. So again, like that, and you've got that nice roll of bread on your trowel. Now from this point, we're going back to our wall, our foundation. We want to put this on those bricks, or imaginary bricks, or on top of that foundation, so we can start laying our first course of bricks. So from here, the motion is, imagine I've got the muck on here. You want to try and do this in one fluid movement. You don't want to do it in staggered movements. So from here you go, see how my arm is outstretched a little bit. You want to go down, and then as that's on the 45, you want to, as you drag it back, you want to turn that over another 45. So it will look like this. And then what that does is that elongates that muck that you had on here. You see how the size of that muck is much bigger than the size of my trowel. I've dragged that all the way along so that you can get a little bit more on there. Now from this point, again, what you do, you just take your trowel, you flip it over. Now you don't have to flip it over, you can do it like this. This, because I'm going to perforate it now. Now there are two ways of doing it. This way is generally if you're on top, looking like if I'm stood up, you tap it down like so. And like this is if you're sort of at this level or higher and you want to tap it down like so. So depending on the height of where you are, you hold the trowel this way or this way. Because I'm kneeling down and doing it, I'll have it upside down. And what you do is you just tap, lift and tap, lift, tap, drag, lift, tap, drag, lift, tap, drag, etc, etc. Just follow it along so you perforate that muck. Now the reason you do this is so that when you put your brick down, because you want to have a 10mm bed, so when you put the brick down, the muck will squidge in those holes as you tap it down, because this here is more than 10mm, that's like 30 or 40mm. So when you tap the brick down to get it nice and level, all these indents will fill in as you tap the brick down, it will squidge in. Now as you can see here, I don't know if you can see there from actually, but it's overhanging slightly on this edge. Now if this was a wall, say 2 or 3 courses up, and you tap this brick down, even more is going to squidge out. So what you do is once you've done your tap, 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 45 degrees, I'll show you this again, this would be better shown when you're actually against brickwork, but again like this is great practice. You do it like this for a while before you even get on the bricks, otherwise you do this on your bricks, you're just going to get smudged bricks and it's going to look rubbish. So always practice first. So you want to take this little bit of excess off the wall. Now you don't hold it perpendicular straight against 90 degrees flat up against the wall and just drag it along. So have it like this, exactly like I told you not to do, and then 45 degrees and then again 45 degrees. So you go 45 degrees back and then flat up against the wall. Show you one more time, 45 degrees out, 45 degrees along, and then again 45 degrees out. So when you pull it across, you get that excess muck. And as you noticed, I got it caught on a little bit of that timber, of this ply board. Now a lot of time this is going to happen on the brickwork, so the way you stop doing that, or the way you do it a lot less often, is do it, I was going to say do it at speed, but I'm digging that hole in there, so that might happen. Do it a little bit faster, just sort of pull it along like that, and if there's some overhanging the other side, do something similar. You hold this part of the trowel just against that brick, 45 degrees out, and just drag it along. Some people like to tap it down again, and just so that this is how it looks when you playing around with it like that. This brings me on to something that I was taught when I was in college. Spend more time laying your bed than you do, no, I got it wrong straight away. Spend more time making your bed than you do laying it. That's something that stuck with me, even though I did get it wrong, but I haven't said it in a while. So basically that's essentially saying this is called your bed. When you put the muck down, it's called your bed. You want to spend more time doing this than you do putting the bricks in. So sort of spend, let's say 2 or 3 minutes doing this, and then you spend 1 minute putting your bricks through. Generally that is when you're laying to a line because it's a lot quicker, but if you're doing it like this and laying, what I'm going to show you in a minute is we're not going to be using a line in this episode, we're just going to be running with a level, so it doesn't really work for this one, but it's always spend more time making your bed than you do laying it. Plus you can say that to your kids and they might get out of bed on a Saturday morning. Don't hold your breath. Right, so I'm going to do that again a couple of times, just run through it so you can have a little look, see how it goes, and yeah, just practice that out in your garden. When you get a chance, get a few bricks, go down your builder's merchant, see if you can wangle a nice deal for a few bricks, and yeah, a bit of plyboard for your spot board. Under here I've got a milk crate, but a lot of the time you just put 2 thermalite blocks under there. Right, so I'll run it through it a couple of times just so you can have a little look see. That's one thing, when you drag that off, if you've got a little gap at the end, just a little flick to flick it down, and then that will fill that little gap if there's a little gap there. Right, one more time. And there we go. That is the first thing I was ever taught in college, and it's very handy because you don't have to build anything up to start with. You don't have to get any bricks. You don't, to do this, to get practicing, you don't actually have to buy any bricks. A bag of sand, and not £1,000, I meant a bag of sand as in a bag of building sand. Yeah, a bag of sand, and in this case a bit of lime. You don't even have to use lime, you could just use wet sand. I've done that before in college, just wet sand, and it works pretty much the same. You just have to top it up with water a little bit more often. But yeah, so crack on with that, have a few goes, and then we'll get on with the next part. Lay a couple of little bricks and see how we go. Right, so once you've had a go at that and you've had a little bit of a trial with your new trowel and you got comfortable with it, you've rolled that around a few times, you've got a few of those little beds going, I think we should move on to laying a few bricks then, eh? Right, what we're going to do is, best place for you guys to do it, in your garden. You can, what I've done here is I've set a little base. I'll do a few builds on here, so I'll set a base, but you can just do it on your patio. If you're doing it at your parents' place, then ask their permission. You don't want to go out, if they walked out on the patio and saw you building some sort of brick thing on their lovely new Indian sandstone patio, they're going to go a bit doolally, aren't they? So find a nice sensible area and make sure it's hard. You can do this on a bit of timber, but it's not a good idea. If you put the timber on top of the patio, then it will probably work, but if you step on it or something, it's going to move it around. So you want something that's nice and solid, preferably a bit of concrete would be ideal. If you're I don't really know where else you can say, but yeah, just find a nice solid place to start, and we'll go from there. Right, those skills that you've just learnt about laying a bed, it's exactly what we're going to do. So I've never done this on my hands and knees, so we'll try. So you get a bit of muck, and from there you lay it out. I'm not going to lay it straight to the edge here because I don't want to plumb up from there. Now I'm going to do this left-handed because I put the camera in the wrong place. And because I'm doing this left-handed, it should hopefully help you, because I'm not very good with my left hand. I'm a right-handed bricklayer, so I really should have done the other way around, but oh well, we're going to do it this way. So I'll be learning with you as well, because I'll be doing it left-handed. So you get your bed nicely set down. Remember what I said, spend more time making your bed than you do laying it. So from this point, once you've gone down to the old builder's merchant, you've got yourself a nice few bricks. Now what I do whenever I lay a brick, in this case these both have face sides, but what I always do is I check one side, I flip it, check the other side, just in case. Like for example, on this brick, one side is not quite as nice as the other side. Let me show you. So if you can see, this side here is a very nice, clean, crisp brick, whereas if I flip it around, in this corner here, there's a little indent, and also on this edge here, I don't know if that's focused, but hopefully it is, there's a little discrepancy there. So this one is not as nice as the other one. So this side is the side we're going to have facing outwards. We have this nice face, so I always have a little shimmy around and check to see what's the nicest face. Now when you press the brick down, you put it on top, and what I like to do is I push it backwards and forwards, but ever so slightly whilst putting pressure down, and that will push it down. And as you can see, the muck will be coming out the sides, which means on the inside where we've made that perforation, the muck will be squidging inside, and then that will be full as well. So you press that down, then from there, before you start doing anything, you get your tape measure, and you want to measure from the top of the brick down to where the footing is, or the brick below, or something like that. So basically you want the height of 75 millimeters. So that's 65 for the brick and then 10 mil for the muck. Because the beds and the perp joints is where the muck goes at the end of the brick. We want them all to be 10 millimeters. That's what's called gauge. So to cut off the excess muck, have your trowel on a bit of a 45-degree angle, much like you would do on the side, but the other way around, and just cut the muck off the back and save it. It's called shaving and saving. Then what you do is you put your tape on there. Now that's a bit low, that's 70 mil. So if this does happen, what you have to do is get just a little bit more muck, lift that brick up, and as you can see that is filled up. Well, it would have been until I pulled that bit off. Slap a bit in there, wave it around, and try again. I think that'll be a bit higher. Perfect, 75 mil. Right, now once you've got that 75 mil, that is now at the right height. Take your boat level, plonk it on the top, and have a look. Now in this case, it shows that this side here is a fraction high. So just give it a little tap, and that looks perfect. Now, a lot of people will say, including myself, don't tap the level. In this case, it was only a little tap, so I don't mind tapping the level. But generally, I'd have the level just off centre and tap the brick, like so. And then to get rid of that excess on the front, the trowel 45 degrees out and 45 degrees on the camber, and just pull it off. And there you go, you laid your first brick. Now, we're going to build a little triangle. We're going to build 4 along, 3, 2, 1. Generally, what I like to do is I'll put the first course in and then I'll plumb it up. Plumb is putting your level against that way, level is that way, and I'll show you what ranging is when we put the few bricks in. That basically means you put your level along all of the bricks to make sure they're in a straight line. So I've leveled this one. I'm not going to plumb the first course. They're called courses. Every time you lay loads of bricks, they're called courses. A lot of people call them rows, but bricklayers, people in the trade will always call it courses because it's a course. So we'll do that. We'll go on to the next one. Now, what we need to do, get a bit more muck. I'm not going to do it left-handed because it's a bit awkward. I'm just going to do it awkwardly. So we put a bit more muck in there. Now what we're going to do is get another brick. Ooh. We'll have a look, pick our side. That one I got it a bit dirty, so we'll rub that off. Now, we're going to put another one down, but we need to have some muck against this brick. So what you do is take it in your hand. It's called buttering a brick. Now, there's 2 ways to do this, and there's a way I'm going to show you that you should never do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be laying this way. So as a bricklayer, I'm laying forward, which means I'm putting the bricks in this way. So I have to put the muck on this side of the brick. If I was laying backwards, where I was going that way, I'm walking backwards, I'll be putting the muck on this end of the brick. So there's 2 ways of holding the brick. If I'm going backwards, which is not the way I'm going, so I'll be going backwards, hold the brick like so. You want to hold it, 4 fingers, I know this is maybe obvious, but you want to hold, this is also, this indent here is called the frog. Don't ask me why it's called the frog. I've asked myself that many times. I've asked a lot of people, and I've also asked Google. I don't think anyone really knows. So if you do know, please, down in the comments, I'd love to hear it. So you always have the frog facing up. Now the reason you have the frog facing up is every time you put the muck down to do a bed, this fills up and it'll interconnect all the bricks together. Some people lay frog down. I don't like doing that because there's a chance you could get a little gap. You can't 100% fill that up. So if water got in there, if it froze and ice got in there, etc., it'll expand and then it could pop the brickwork. So always fill your frogs up and always have your frog facing up. Now, what was I saying? So, to butter a brick, you hold the brick, frog facing up, 4 fingers on one side, thumb on this side, as if you're gonna sort of pretend it's like a toy train and push it along, that kind of thing. So you hold it like that. With your trowel, I'll put the muck on it in a minute, but for when I'm laying forwards like I am now, you want to turn that brick to you so you can butter it up. And if you're working away from you, do exactly the same, but you turn it the other way up so you can do it down. Right, so from here, you want to get a bit of muck on your trowel. I would say about that much. So what you do is you just stick it in a little bit, none of that, and just pick up a bit of muck. Now that is a country mile too much, but what you do is you need to stick it to your trowel and get rid of that. So I'm just going to do it on the floor because I don't think my spot board's in frame. So what you do is a flicking motion. You want to do that. So you lift up, throw the bottom, throw your wrist down like that, and then flick it down like that. Now the reason you do this is for 2 reasons. One, I've got rid of a bit of the excess muck, and 2, that is now stuck to that trowel. To make sure you stuck it to your trowel, do exactly what I've just done there. Flip it upside down. So there you go, you got it on there, flip it upside down. If you do it sideways, it'll probably fall off. Like that, it's going to fall off. So generally you do it over the spot board so you catch any of that excess muck, but like I said, I think my spot board's out of frame, so a little flick. It's quite a trick to that. And then what we usually do is hold it over your head to show that you are certain that that muck has stuck. Now from this point, the way that I like to butter bricks, so I'll butter this one up, is, I'll tell you what, I'll come in close to the camera and do it. So we have the brick end here and the trowel here. I'm trying to look in the camera and this at the same time. I think it's in focus. There we go. Right, so you want to, at a 45-degree angle, press that down like so. Now some of it has fallen off. Now this is quite a good case. So from here, you want to sort of almost not a 90 degree to that brick. You want to bring it in at 45 and push down, and then you'll get some muck on that end. And then with that last little bit on the trowel, you want to, like so. Now there's a lot on there, so what I do is I just push that down a bit, like so. So you can see down that edge, it's nice and straight with the front of the brick, and on this edge it's nice and straight with the front of the brick. Now that is a nicely buttered brick. Now once you've done that, you want to put it up against this other brick. Now to do it, I like to just drag a little bit of excess off my trowel. Now when I do it, oh fuck me. Now this is the trouble with sand and cement, is sand and lime, it doesn't stick very well. So excuse me while I do it again. Now from here, as I was saying, the end, that's going to come off again. The end with the cement, the mortar on it, you want to go down at a 45, again a 45-degree angle, but you want to be a bit above the mortar. And as you press the whole brick down, you want to, so as you press the brick down, much as you did with this, and give it a wiggle and you want to pull it towards this brick. So that will look like that. And sometimes I sort of wiggle that up and down to get it to pull together, because you want this as a nice 10mm. So once you're in there like that, then do the same as you would do with this one, but you don't wiggle it backwards and forwards, you just put pressure on it. If that's not going down like it is now, get the butt of your trowel and tap it into place. Now from here, take this bit of muck off with a nice little 45 degree. Everything's pretty much working in 45 degrees. The reason you do that is so you don't smudge the brickwork. Again here, 45 up, and you get your level, either your 2-foot level, 4-foot level, and put that across both of them. I was about to say all 4, but we've only done 2. Now this level is showing that this end is a bit high, so give it a tap. That's much better. Okay, there we go. You know what, I'm going to tap the level. And then 45 degrees again, drag that bit off. Now you've laid 2 bricks. Now you don't know if they're all over the place or all wobbly, so what you do, this is where the ranging comes in. So we've leveled it, We haven't plumbed it yet, but we're going to do what's called ranging it, which means where you put the level across the front. So now from here, you take your level and you just put it against, and as you can see, there are some gaps where that is wobbling around a bit. I'll give you a bit of an angle. There you go. You see that's wobbling around a bit. So we need to pull out this end here, because this is the brick that we've already laid and we don't really want to move that. This one, so essentially what you do, get the butt of your trowel and just give that a little tap, get your level again, check it. Now that is much better. That's not wobbling whatsoever. So once we've done that, we know we've got level and ranged 2 bricks perfectly. So what we do, we'll put another one along there and then we'll go on top and we'll start plumbing them up. So I'll just do that a little bit quickly so you can see. Check the brick, that one's got a bit out of it, so flip it over, that one looks good. Bit of muck. I was going to show you the ways you shouldn't do your muck. Right, okay, I'll do that now. So some people like to do this, and they just have it on the 2 sides. The middle bit is empty. You don't want to do that, because if any water or moisture gets in there and it freezes, it could pop those out and it could impair the structural integrity of the building. And again, some people do this way, where they only do one side and they press it in. That one's not as bad, but again, you can't guarantee that that other side doesn't have that has enough muck in it. So make sure you've got enough on both sides. I like to flatten it across the top. Now the reason I do this is because when it comes to jointing up, you don't have to worry about all missed holes finishing up, but I'll come to that when we do jointing. But it's best to have a nice square flush muck on the end of your perp. These are called perp ends because they're perpendicular to the beds, and the beds, as I said, are called beds. So from there, put that in, give it a little wheel, give it a little tap. See, you can use the heel, the corner of the heel of the trowel to take that bit of muck. Now that looks good. And then again, range it. The way to do it is to hold the level like that and tap the level or tap the brick back. Perfect. Now from here, this course is done. We'll take that muck off, and from behind we also want to take the muck off. So put your trowel down, exactly. Depending on what you're doing with this brickwork, don't worry too much about the back side of it. You get a bit of muck on it, but if it's going to be seen, then be very careful and do exactly the same way you would do on the front, on the back, so you don't get all smudge marks all over your brickwork. Now from here, what we're going to do in this case, we are going to be doing what is called not stack bonded, half bond, which is half a brick width, 1 brick on top of 2. Pretty much the backbone of every bricklayer is the not stack bond. Why do I keep calling it stack bond? The half bond. So what we do, exactly the same as you did before. On the bottom row, get a bit of muck, splodge it in there. Now from here, as you can see, that front, you need to take a little bit off. Do it at that 45, do it a bit quick so that you don't get caught on where these perps are. And you want to also make sure you fill up those frogs. So let's do that, tap it along. Like so, and then exactly the same on this course as you did below. Put the brick down, give it a wobble. Now where that's splodging out, you don't want that to touch the brick below, because you'll get again smudge marks. So from here, 45 degrees this way and 45 degrees that way, quickly along, drag it off. There we go. Now from here, take your tape measure from your footing or whatever it is, the course below, where you started, not the course below. You want to go from where you started all the way up. You always want to come from the same point. So we'll call it foundation. So we'll go from there, and you want to go up 150 millimeters. Essentially the 75 times table, 75, 1500, 225, 300, etc, etc. So I'm 2 mil high, so in this case, take my level, put it on the top, and I will level it up. And that should take me down those 2 mil. Let's have a quick look. And there we go, 1500, perfect. Now, from here, because we didn't plumb up the bottom, now this is where the plumbing begins. I'll tell you what, you can tell I've done that before, that's exactly right. So, for example, if it's not plumb, so I've made it not plumb, the level saying it's plumb, and there's that gap. You can see my finger, can you see my finger behind there? You can see my finger, there's that little gap there. So what you need to do, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I've got one hand over the camera, one hand, I'll tell you what, let's put my boot on it. So you take your trowel, now this edge here needs to come that way. So use the butt of it, and all you do is you just tap this end down. That's gone too far over. So to get back the other way, rather than tap, excuse my thing, rather than tap this side here, you want to tap this side here to take this side that way. I'll tell you what, I should be an octopus because I need more hands to do this. So again, take the trowel, just tap that bit. Also what you can do is just tap your level a fraction, and there you go. Perfect. Now to get your best results from that, what you want to do is you want to plumb up both sides, both ends of that brick. So this side of the top of the brick and this side of the top of the brick to get them perfectly right. If for some reason the bottom brick is out, then tap it over. You should really do this on the bottom, but I like to do it this way because I can just tap the top of it in and it works out fine. But you should really plumb up from the beginning. And then from there, what we'll do is lay another brick on the other side, much the same as you did before. Making sure to take off any excess as you go. Again, I'm doing what I said you shouldn't do and tap your level, but because it's not a lot, I don't mind. And then what I like to do is, the best way to do this, so that I'm showing you without having to put my boot on it, is you hold the bottom of it against the brick and just tap the level over to the top. And that will give you a nice plumb. Ooh, you range it through, and that's perfect, and there you go. Now to finish off your little pyramid, one on top. Beautiful. And then again, plumb it up. Beautiful. What you want to do when you put this top brick on you want to have an eye down the top, straight down here, so you can see this part of the brick. You want it to be in line with this part of the brick, not the course below, but the one below that. You want to keep this and this in line. As you're learning, a good way to do this is to take your level and plumb up from that bottom brick to that top one and make sure it's right. This one is wrong. It is about sort of 5mm out. So what I'll do, 5mm isn't so bad in a long wall, but in this case we want it nice and perfect. So from there, you put your level up and you just want to tap it back 5mm, check it. That's perfect. And then because you've tapped it back, you want to check your plumb again. That's looking good. And then from there, you're going to take your jointing iron. Now I've done a video on how to joint up before, so I'll leave that down I'll leave a link for that down in the description, but I'll just quickly do it on camera for you so you can have a look. Always do your perps first. And there we go. That there is what I learnt the first couple of days at college. The rolling around the muck, rolling around in the muck, the rolling the muck to get it on the trowel, the getting it on there, the pressing it down, and then building a little pyramid. Right, okay, I think that's pretty much how we're doing for the first episode. What we'll do is, next episode, we are going to start building, I'll show you how to build a corner. Out of everything we're going to be doing is this exact same bond, half bond, just so that you can get an idea of how we lay bricks. And then from there, once we get up, once you guys have learned a few more things, we'll go into different types of bonds and go from there. But next episode, what we'll do is, like I said, we'll go in the corners, because before you can run brickwork in, you have to build a corner first. You don't want to do what I've done here, building a house. You don't want to start in the middle. You always start on the two corners, so that you can put a string line up. I don't actually have a string line to hand. Put a string line up and follow it along with that. It's a hell of a lot quicker, a hell of a lot more accurate. Doing this, checking every brick, it's not ideal, it's not good. I'd only say do it like this just to get practice, just so you can feel the bricks, get how they feel in the hand, how they feel against the mortar when you push them down, how your trowel feels against them. Just have a practice building a pyramid, and what we'll do is next week we'll get onto the corners and go from there and show you a few more things, a few more tricks and tips. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, hopefully you guys learned something. Please do get down in the comments and let me know if this is helpful to you. Let me know if there's any more you don't understand, any more you'd like me to go into detail about these specific couple of things. Just rolling the mortar, just building this building up this pyramid. Please do get me down in the comments. If there's something that I didn't address, then I'll make an update video to it, but otherwise, there we go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please do leave a like down below if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you guys in the next episode for some corners. So take care, and I'll see you then.